New, simple, and reliable raid farm for Minecraft Bedrock Edition, and this one has some bonus features like an optional iron farm upgrade and even a villager trading hall upgrade as well. So this is the only build you need for a great raid farm, iron farm, and a villager trading hall on Minecraft Bedrock Edition. Even though there's 3 unique builds in this one farm, it's actually remarkably simple, easy to build, and very cheap as well. Thanks to this farm, you're going to be getting an absolute ton of loot. Everything that you see in these chests, you're going to be getting thousands and thousands of, and not to mention all the iron as well, and the optional villager trading hall. Some of the best loot that you'll get is a ton of totems of undying, a lot of emeralds, and even enchanted books that includes mending. The rates for this combo raid iron farm are pretty good. You're gonna get about 360 iron per hour. As for the raid farm, you're gonna get anywhere from about 1300 to 1500-ish emeralds per hour. There's now a 30-second cooldown between your raids, so unfortunately our current day raid farms are not as good as the olden day raid farms, but it's still more than enough for any world or server that you might be playing on. And of course, this is a pillager outpost farm, so we're getting a bunch of this different stuff as well. This raid farm farms 6 different unique mobs, including all the raid mobs and the iron golems, which of course you get iron and stuff from. The pillagers themselves drop a lot of goodies, including stuff like mending books. Vindicators give you a bunch of iron, gear, and emeralds. The evokers are the best ones, of course, because they give you the totems of undying, and witches give you the most items, all of this junk, including some different potions. And we're also getting a bunch of saddles from all the ravagers, because I know how much you love saddles. You love saddles, right? This isn't even mentioning all the stuff that you can get from villager trading as well. There's 3 simple parts to this raid farm. The first part is the pillager outpost, and this is where you're going to have your storage system and also your bad omen farm. The bad omen farm is really simple. All we got is simply the spawning spot and then a trident killer, and this is going to give you bad omen for your raid farm up above. If we move up here, this is where we have the AFK spot, and as soon as you get up here with bad omen, that's going to start a raid in the upper part of the farm. But this right here is where you're going to be AFKing. We have the on-off switch for the farm and an item collection chute. This is going to deliver all the experience directly to you and all the drops down to your sorting system. This is also where you can have a small villager trading hall if you want one. Moving up into the farm, this is where we have the iron golems spawning and where we have the pillagers as well, along with a trident killer that kills all of them. This part of the farm is basically just a box that everything spawns in, goes to one side, and then dies. All the items and experience get funneled out of the farm, and then you'll pick up the experience when you're standing in the AFK spot. This AFK spot is safe from Vexes, so you shouldn't die here for any reason, and our villagers also have Vex protection, so they should be safe as well. This farm has been tested extensively so that it always works for killing the iron golems, along with the smaller raid mobs and even the ravagers as well. It just works, and it works reliably. Because this is a raid farm, you're also going to be getting Hero of the Village from it, meaning that all the villagers will have an automatic discount, which is amazing because zombie curing just got a nerf. So this Hero of the Village effect works in this villager trading hall, of course, but it also works in any other villager trading hall in the world so that you get a little bit better prices. Now keep in mind that the iron farm and the trading hall are optional upgrades. If you don't want the trading hall, then you don't need them, and if you don't want an iron farm, then you only need 1 villager and 1 bed. So it gets even simpler if you don't want all these extra options, but you may as well, because why not have a combo farm, right? By having our player and our beds as far above the ground as possible, that severely limits the amount of raids that spawn on the ground. I've never seen one spawn on the ground with this design, so you shouldn't need to spawn proof anything with leaves. Keep in mind, the only things raids can't spawn on are leaves and scaffolding. So everything that I built out of leaves, you also have to build out of leaves. Otherwise, raiders will spawn on it. Now, because we have a trident killer with our evokers, this does mean that occasionally they will summon in a Vex. I have never once seen a Vex attack or even notice a villager, and I've ran this for dozens and dozens of hours, and they've also never even gotten closer to the AFK spot. For the most part, they just kind of float around and then go and despawn. Because Trident killers are a player kill, I don't think there's a way to prevent Vexes because it's a player action, so they're going to try and fight back. If you're super paranoid or if you ever have issues with Vexes, then you could just sprinkle around a bunch of boats. These will catch the Vexes and prevent them from being able to damage your villagers or your player. And just a quick rundown on how exactly you use this this farm, the first step is to turn on the lower trident killer and make sure you've thrown a trident in there. You're then going to go up to the AFK spot and simply turn on this lever right here. This is going to activate the trident killers above you and immediately start killing any iron golems that are up there. And you should be getting bad omen momentarily. And there we go. We got ourselves some bad omen. That's immediately going to start a raid up above us. And then all you do is stand here. Make sure that you're holding a looting 3 sword. That way applies the looting effect. And that'll give you 2.5 times more items. And as you can see, all the items fall down in front of you. And we're going to pick up the experience through the wall here. And that's pretty much all there is to using the farm. You can stand here for as long as you want. Something to note is that when you complete a raid, you're going to have a bit of phantom bad omen. Now you can't see it, but we still have the bad omen effect, meaning that we can start another raid. As you can see, once the raid victory bar goes away, it's going to start another raid. So what you should do is you should turn off that bottom trident killer 1 raid before you're done in this area. So just stick around this area for 1 extra raid. Make sure you got rid of that phantom bad omen. And then once you're done at the farm, turn off this trident killer and then also go down to the bottom and turn off the lower trident killer. You always need to turn off the trident killers. That way they don't break by leaving the area while they're running. And let's hop into the tutorial. All the materials that you'll need to build this are in this chest right here. You can find exact quantities down in the description of the video. That way you know exactly what you need to build with. Step 1 is to find yourself a good pillager outpost. Basically, you're looking for any pillager outpost ever, as long as it's not too close to the side of a hill, because then you would need to spawn proof that entire hill or remove it. So this one right here, just in the middle of nowhere, will work just fine. Because this is a 1 village raid farm, you only need a single spawning spot in your pillager outpost, but if you want more bad omen to help get you a little bit increased rates, you can look for a 2, 3, or 4 spawning spot pillager outpost. For more information on better pillager outposts, check out the video linked everywhere. The majority of the time, the only spawning spot that you're going to find is going to be right next to the stairs at the top, so just go in by 2 blocks and this is going to be your spawning spot. And now you need yourself a locator map. So this is going to be your icon, the little white dot. You want to face towards the top of the map. This is going to be north, so northwest is going to be in the upper left corner of that map. We're going to go ahead and place 4 glass panes going towards the northwest corner, just like this. And this is where the pillagers are going to spawn. They're going to spawn between these 4 blocks right here. Once you've killed all the pillagers, back up by about 30 blocks, and you should start to see pillagers spawn right between all these panes, and that means that you found the spawning spot. If you're having pillagers spawn elsewhere, then again, check out my other video for how to deal with multiple spawning spots. You only need 1 for this raid farm though, so if you want to, you can just spawn proof the rest of this place and call it good. Now that we know where our pillagers spawn, we're going to build a super simple trident killer for them. So pull out your locator map and make sure that you are facing north. That way we're building this in the correct orientation. We're going to put some solid blocks to these 2 corners of the pillagers, and then a stair next to it and next to it right there. Solid blocks again and again, and then we need ourselves 4 pieces of glass going out in this direction. Pull out yourself another solid block and just put them in these areas like this. And this is the general shape that you should now have. We're now going to go ahead and break out these 3 blocks right here and just place in yourself a temporary double chest for some storage and get in yourself a hopper on the back side of it. This needs to go down by at least 1 block. As you can see, we're standing in it like so. If you have any pillagers in there, just go ahead and kill those guys. And now we need to place in a water bucket on this stair. It should flow directly into that hole. And then another water bucket on that stair. It should also flow directly into that hole. Make sure it does not flow into this spot right here. If it is, then you've done it wrong. You also need a glass block directly above that spawning spot. And now just go ahead and build up all these walls by an extra layer on all sides. And we're also going to place a torch right here. That way nothing else spawns in there. And 4 leaves above it like so. And now to install the killing part of this cell, all we need to do is put in 2 blocks right here and then a temporary block with a piston facing towards the spawning spot. Another solid block right there, 1 more right there. We're going to go to the side and place in a solid block up like this, and then a redstone torch next to that piston, a repeater right here with some redstone dust on it like so, and then a block above that redstone and a block above that torch. That's going to create a little clock, as you can see there, and now we can simply turn that off by using a lever right there. You also want to throw in a trident, ideally with impaling 5, that way it kills all the mobs quicker, but any regular trident will do. We actually need to remove this block right here because it's in the way, but that is now your bad omen farm completely done, and we're actually done with the pillager outpost entirely. it's time to move up. The first thing that we need to do is mark out the center block on the roof up here. So this is just the very center of the outpost. All these little extra things on the sides should be 5 blocks wide, so it's super easy to figure out where the center is. We're going to be AFKing 42 blocks above the top layer of our outpost, and the top layer of my outpost is at Y77. So get out your calculator, do 42 plus whatever your top layer is. For me, that equals 119, and that is where our AFK spot is going to be. So just pillar up here and make sure you got a little 3x3 AFK spot, and the center of this is going to be directly above the center of our outpost. Once you have your AFK spot in place, I would highly recommend that you turn on your Trident killer and then go stand at your AFK spot, and make sure that you can get the bad omen effect while standing right here. If you don't get the bad omen effect after a few minutes, then you might need to lower down your AFK spot by a block or 2. And there we go, we just got the bad omen effect, so we know that this is a valid AFK spot, and now we can continue on with the build. If you don't have an elytra to fly up to your AFK spot, then you can simply pillar up there with some scaffolding. To build up the AFK spot, we're going to start on the north side, and this is going to be the little water catchment system for our experience and drops. So we just need a little platform of water with a little ring of leaves going all the way around it. This water is going to go to the side of the AFK platform. That way all the experience has time to get absorbed by the player. We're going to have a solid block right here with a button on it to stop the water flow, and then go ahead and place in yourself a water source right here that's going to push everything out to this direction. So this is what the little water platform should look like. All of your items are going to fall straight down right here, but we'll install the item collection at the end of the build. We also need ourselves a little glass wall right here, simply so that we can see out there and see that our items and experience are falling down. I'm also going to mark the middle spot right here on the roof. Now put up some walls on the outer edges, basically just going all the way around this thing, just to contain yourself and make sure that Vexes have a harder time seeing you. We're going to go out by a couple of blocks right here, and then we need a redstone lamp in this location right here with a lever on it, and that of course is going to be the on-off switch. This is the most basic version of what your AFK spot should look like. You can expand this and upgrade it to be whatever you want, but everything has to be built out of leaves. You can't really have anything else up here. The upper raid farm section is directional, so make sure the spawning platform bit is on the south side and the trident killers are on the north side. Now we're going to start building up the bases of the raid farms. We're going to go up by 11 blocks, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then on the 11th block is going to be a marker leaf block. You can go ahead and remove that pillar now. So we need 3 regular leaves to the left of it and then 4 to the right of it. So this thing's going to be a total of 8 blocks wide by 3 blocks long, so it should just be a nice little platform like this. Now we're going to go ahead and surround this entire thing with a ring of solid blocks going all the way around it. So it should look like this once you've surrounded it with solid blocks. Now we're going to break out this leaf right here. It should be right above the middle of that water stream down there. Place in a button right there, and then we just need a water source on the left and a water source on the right. Now go ahead and put a solid block bar going all the way across it like so, and then go ahead and put buttons all across the middle like that. Now we're going to build up this back wall by 2 blocks going all the way around, and once you've built up that wall, it should look like this. Now we're going to go ahead and install a bunch of signs in this location right here, just going all the way across the farm, and that's going to hold in the water. We also need more buttons on this back wall right here to hold in the water. Now you can place in a water source right here on the right and right here on the left, and that's going to push everything directly into the middle trident killers. And now we can do 2 bars of solid blocks going all the way across it, just like this, as a little mini roof to hold in the mobs. So what this is going to do is it's going to grab all the mobs and push them into the center right here to our trident killers. Once they die, all the experience and loot will get pushed back there, or it'll fall down and get pushed directly into this little hole and fall down to our player. So that's the basic trident killer setup done, but now we need to decide what type of farm are you going to be building. Is it going to be just a raid farm, or will you be including the iron farm and potentially the villager trading hall? If you just want the raid farm, then go down here and place out a couple of blocks, and then place in 1 bed right there for the villagers, and that is going to be enough just for the basics of the raid farm. But if you want the iron farm, then we need to continue this out, and we need to get 20 beds in this area. So that's 1, this is going to be 2 and 3, and then turn around, that's 4, 5, and 6, and now we need to extend this platform to both sides. So just expand the platform, that way we have blocks to build on. So that's 6 beds in the middle, and that's 7, 8, 9, 10, turn around, that's 11, 12, 13, and 14, and then it's 15, 16, 17, 18, turn around again, 19, and 20. Now you can go ahead and remove all the temporary blocks underneath these guys. Make sure you don't break any of these beds at any point. Now it's time for the main spawn platform. So counting from this block right here, it's going to be 17 blocks long. So that's 2, 3, 4, all the way out. If you have all the beds installed, you just need to go out by 3 beyond our final bed over here. You should also have 2 blocks beyond your first bed right here. And now you just need to fill in this entire thing with solid blocks. So it's basically just going to be one giant rectangle. So this platform should be a total of 10 blocks wide by 17 blocks long. And that is the full scale spawning platform for the raid and iron farm. Now we're going to add a little mini wall to the left and right walls real quick, just to contain our water. And then the back wall is actually going to be over the edge by a block, just like so. Now, all these walls actually need to be a total of 5 blocks tall, so it should look something just like this, going all the way around. And as you can see, that is a lot of blocks, but just go ahead and fill all that in. It's basically just a wall. Now, on the demo version, I had this wall made out of glass. That's just so we can see in there. You can have it be out of glass if you want, but otherwise, solid blocks is the way to go. Now, we just need to add in the water for the backside of the build, so we're just going to place in a water source on every other block, and then on the edge right there, and then all of that should flow out to the very end right here. Now place in a line of signs going all the way across until it reaches the edge, and another lane of signs going across right here. Now we need a line of temporary blocks. Go ahead and place in a water source on the left and a water source on the right. Let that flow to the middle, and then go ahead and remove all these temporary blocks. Now that's all going to float to the front, and your spawning platform is basically done. And now to finish off the front of the build, we need to expand these side walls up by another couple blocks, lined up with this bit of water right here. So just bring it up to the same layer as the rest of the build. And now we need to get in ourselves a couple lines of blocks going between them. So this should leave a block gap above the water right here. And this wall needs to be 2 blocks tall right there. And now we're just going to go around to the side, put in 6 blocks on this side right here, and 6 blocks on this side, leaving this little 4 block gap. Now we're going to go stand right here and place in 4 pistons facing towards the farm, and this is going to be our Trident killer. Now we can go ahead and cover up this little section with leaves, put some leaves on this section right here, and then you also need to put leaves along the entire rim of all of these outer walls. And that's what all the leaves should look like once you're done, but now you need to go ahead and fill in this entire inner section with leaves as well, so just completely fill in this entire middle bit. Now that all this is set up, we need to go down to our little on-off switch down here, and we're going to put in a piece of redstone above it, and then a solid block, and then just a redstone torch tower going all the way up to the top of the farm. So it's just redstone torches and solid blocks alternating all the way up. As you can see, every other torch is on and then off again, and then that's going to go up to this point, break out these 2 blocks right here, a redstone torch on the side of that block, solid block right here, and then 3 pieces of redstone dust, a block right here, redstone torch, and then a repeater right there on 1 tick. And now we just need 4 pieces of redstone dust right here, and then go ahead and cover up all of this with a layer of leaves, and all of these areas, and 1 leaf right here, of course. So right now it is off, and that is because our redstone lamp is off, but if we go ahead and turn this on with our lever, that should go ahead and turn on all of our pistons, as you can see here. And now you need to put in some tridents in each of these cells, ideally with impaling 5, that way it kills the mobs the quickest. Now you just need to throw 1 trident in front of each of these pistons, just like so. Keep in mind, if you have an iron golem on the inside, they'll kind of like bounce out of there and fall down. So what you might need to do is put in some temporary blocks, throw the tridents on top of those, and then break the blocks so that the tridents fall down in there. It's weird, but it works. Once you have a trident in front of each one of your pistons, just put a layer of leaves right here, and that's going to spawn-proof your trident killer. And now your farm is basically done. So that is the entire structure of the mob farm done. What we need to do now is get some villagers up here. Possibly the hardest part of this farm is getting villagers up, but it doesn't need to be that bad. You can use a bubble column, or you can use a minecart or nether portals to move villagers up here. If you're building just the raid farm, all you need is 1 villager. If you're building the iron farm and trading hall, then you'll need at least 2 villagers, and then we're going to build a villager breeder. Now, keep in mind that if you have killed a captain, then you probably have bad omen, or you have phantom bad omens. So as soon as you get a villager up here and it links to a bed, then you're going to start a raid, which is actually fine as long as everything is built out of leaves and you've done everything as shown and there's no extra blocks everywhere. This raid should spawn inside of this thing right here. Yep, as you can see there, we got some illagers, and now if you just go ahead and turn on your Trident killer, that's going to deal with all of those guys. And then you can just run through your first raid and you should be good. Assuming that your first raid went all right, which it totally should, as long as you don't have blocks everywhere and everything's built just generally like what I have shown here. Now we need to get our second villager up here, and we need at least 2 up here to build a villager breeder. Keep in mind, they have to be within like 3 blocks of the beds to link to them. If they're within 4 blocks, they will never link to the bed. So they got to be really, really close to it vertically. Once you've gotten 2 villagers up here, you should see the green particles on them, and that's them linking to the beds. Now, just go ahead and build basically any villager breeder. It doesn't really matter. All the beds of the villager breeder are already installed, and I'll have a link to a super basic villager breeder down in the description of the video. I literally just gave these guys some potatoes. Literally, I've not done anything else, and they're already breeding. So it should be really easy for you to get a bunch of villagers. Keep in mind, it takes 20 minutes for a baby villager to grow up into an adult. It doesn't matter exactly where you put the villagers, but I'm going to be having 1 pod on either end of the beds because that's the easiest place to install them. So I'll show you how to build the villager trading hall, but before we do that, we need our detection villagers in place. These are going to be the villagers that are at the very top of this place. They're as far away from the beds vertically as they can be while still detecting them. As you can see, they link to it. We're just going to cover that guy up with leaf and give him a basic workstation. Make sure it links to it, and then we're going to put another detection villager on this side as well. The detection villagers basically just read the beds and let all the other villagers in the area know that the beds are there. That way, villagers down at this lower layer can still link to those beds. So those are your 2 pod locations. If you want a basic iron farm, put 5 villagers in each pod. Make sure they're all linked up to their workstations. If you want a better iron farm, then 10 villagers in each pod. And if you want a villager trading hall, then 1 villager in each pod, and the rest of them will go down here at the bottom. For the optional villager trading hall, we're going to go down to the AFK platform layer and just make a giant line of leaves going out. This needs to be a minimum of 7 blocks wide, but I would recommend making it 9 blocks wide. And that's essentially what it should look like. You can make this any size that you want, but I'm going to be putting enough room for basically 18 villager trading cells. These are going to be the most basic villager trading cells that you can get, and it's all going to be built out of leaves. Leaves is life because this is the only thing that raids can't spawn on. So this is going to be basically where your villager is standing, not nitwits because they're dumb, and then we're also going to have a leaf right here. Now, their workstation is going to be to the side of them. That way, there's always a leaf above it. And then this trapdoor can be closed down, again, to block the line sight of the Vexes. So you can build these right next to each other and just fill up this entire platform. You can make it any size or shape that you want. And that's pretty much all there is to it. It really is customizable. Just make sure that everything is built out of leaves. Like, I'm not joking. It all should be leaves. So this is basically what I've built up for my villager trading hall. Now, when it comes to linking these guys together, it's pretty standard. You just put down a workstation and then you try to find out who it is, and then you put the workstation right next to them and then make sure they link again. And then you just keep on doing that process until every single one of these guys is linked up. And that's why you should really give the guys at the top their workstations first. Otherwise, it's going to be a giant hassle. Once you got them all put into their cells and you got them linked to their workstation, also put a leaf in front of them as well. And then when you're not using them, you should be closing the trapdoors. So once all of your villagers have started working, it's just a matter of time until you get iron golems spawning. It's going to be kind of hard to tell if you have them. And that's why it could be a good idea just to put a little glass window on the side of this thing, just so you can see in there. And actually, we already got one. Look at that. Now, of course, the only way for these guys to die is when you have the Trident killer turned on. So if we turn that on and wait a couple of seconds, then we should see a bunch of iron and stuff fall down through that hole. And of course, you can also just hear the iron golems dying. But yeah, there we go. The first bit of iron from our farm. One last word of warning is I wouldn't recommend putting your best villagers up here because there is the chance of Vexes. So there's a very, very slim chance that any of these guys could get hit or die die from Vexes. Remember, you're going to be getting the Hero of the Village effect and a bunch of emeralds in this area, so it's probably best to have villagers that you want to buy from a lot. Also, for your AFK spot, you want to have the door or the exit be on the left side here. That way, if a Vex flies into the middle of your room, then you're still blocked by these leaves in the middle when you're standing on the AFK spot. Don't put a door or something right here. If you want to fully box yourself in, then just use leaves. You can also put something like a barrel underneath some leaves and then store your items in there while you go AFK. That way, if you do happen to die, then you're not going to lose anything. Of course, make sure that you're always holding a looting 3 sword when you're going AFK. One last thing to do is to come up to this little drop chute area and just add like 3 leaves going down on all sides. That'll help align all of your items so that they fall straight down into the water. And if you're building in a snowy biome, then you'll need to cover up every piece of leaves on top of your farm with a piece of string to prevent snow from building up on top of the farm. If it builds up enough, then eventually raids will spawn on it. You should also place some lightning rods down on the ground around your farm. That way lightning doesn't burn down your farm. Now it's time to install the storage at the lower bit of your farm. So I'd recommend just throwing a couple of junk items into your water here and then just letting them flow down. And then that's going to fall on the exact block that you need to mine. As you see, all these items have fallen right here. So if we break that block out, we just need to go all the way down to the lowest layer of the outpost. Of course, you can set up whatever kind of storage system that you want, but I'm going to show you how to make some basic bulk storage. So this is the hole where all the items will fall down. I'm just going to put in a wall of chests on this side right here, just 3 blocks tall. So it's just going to be something like that for temporary storage. And then on the back sides of all those, you want to crouch and place a hopper facing into all of those. And then on the very end, you can have an extra double chest just for some excess storage. And then 1 line of hoppers going above all of it like so. And finally, you just need a line of hoppers going to this hole in the floor right here. And that's going to collect all the items from your iron and raid farm and put them into this large bulk temporary storage. While you're here, you should also put a torch on every floor of the outpost because a lot of things can spawn in here. So now go ahead and remove all the extra temporary blocks that you might have been building with and make sure the only things in this area are what I've shown you how to build, and everything is covered with leaves and built purely out of leaves. Once you've done that, go ahead and turn on the lower trident killer and head on up to your AFK spot. And once you get your first bad omen from your lower trident killer, that should start a raid. Just go ahead and make sure that your trident killer are on, and then you should be good to go. It's going to take a couple of minutes to defeat the raid, but all the while, you're also going to be farming iron golems. If you watched the whole video, then you also liked it, so drop a like and maybe share it around, and even consider subscribing to help us reach 600,000 subscribers on the channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys down in the comments and in the next one.